I am Precocious Lotus, also known as Dr. Audrey Tang, and that's my day job. But tonight I'm here because we have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful lineup for Skits and Quibbles. We are on our Spotlight series, and that means we have fabulous talent from the UK over to present to you right now. And tonight, I'm so excited for our guest. But before we go there, as always, I want to give you a little bit of a zhuzh to start your week. So follow me to the main stage. Today you can see I'm wearing my gloves, as all burlesque dancers do, because we can take them off. So I thought today I would teach you 2 glove peels. The first glove peel is very simple. The first glove peel is just simply, you peel each finger like this. And if you remember from last week, we are standing in our star position as well. So we pull, we pull, we pull, we pull, we pull. And if you want, you can then go, and that's something that you can try with a glove, but don't fold it up afterwards because that doesn't look so good. The second glove peel, much simpler. You put your hand out like that and you peel, you peel, you peel, peel, peel. And off it comes like this. But then what do you do with your gloves? Again, 2 options. One option is the simple option. You swing it round, swing it round, swing it round, and off it goes. Or alternatively, you can use it and play with it a little and shimmy with it a little. And that way, you can start your week with flair and sass. But are you ready for our fabulous, fabulous guest? You have seen this wonderful performer on Skits and Quibbles before because they have performed with the Groovie bunch. It is Thomas W. Kelly, also known as Dark Sugar, a singer, songwriter, lyricist, spoken word poet, and Thomas and Dark Sugar are here to entertain you for the next half an hour.
Hi, good evening. I'm your babe, Dark Sugar. Woo! Hey, I took the train here today and a little girl pointed and said, "Mommy, what's that?" "Oh, that's the poster girl for Don't Do Drugs." You see, I'm an English queer Australian, which means that I positively hate myself and I'm better than you in a relaxed way. Yes. You see, back in Australia, they just call me a title country boy. Yeah. And much like country folk, you see, I'm tough as nails and mine is 9 inches long. Whoop. Yeah, I just love getting hammered. Is this tool-based penis joke working for you? Yeah? I don't know. When you get nutted, do you bolt? Questionable choices in life. So I grew up in 90s Australia, talking about nines. And, you know, oh, wow, the barbecues were stunning. The homophobia and racism, second to none. Yeah, I'm a working class kid, so, you know, I had to hide my gayness deeper than a queen's nutsack. Even Narnia was like, so where is this closet with this gay you speak of? We actually thought in Australia that bisexuals were a computer virus. Yes, dangerous, you know, unpredictable, sticky on the keyboard. Call me infected. And, you know, I've actually got more in common these days with summer time in Australia because that's when we both look like the aftermath of a bushfire. Yes. Brutal, mate. But, you know, you can take the boy out of Oz. You can't take the country boy out of the Queen. Hey. Yes. So it's such a pleasure to be here on Skits and Quibbles with Wellbeing Media Studio, and you've got to catch me afterwards for the interview as well on the Mental Health Show. Yeah, so, you know, the other day a Slovakian friend was saying to me, "What does mean, drag of the Queen?" I think of it as using your marbles while hiding your walnuts. Yes. Or in Texas, it's just simply identify as "Don't shoot me." You know, if the world was flat, though, wouldn't all the hate just fall off the edge? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, am I? I'm just disappointed in humanity. That's more like it. Let's explore some of life's more disappointing facets, shall we? When your close friend is a closet racist, disappointment. When the job you work forgets to pay you, disappointment. When you've got cause for celebration in this economic constipation. Oh dear. Outside is the UK. Is a freeze. What's it like in Venezuela? 30 degrees. Disappointment. Oh, what about friendship? When your alcoholic friend gets wasted at a tea party? When football fans spit on you because you're arty? Disappointment. When the Tories get elected? A job application rejected. Arts Council. I'm not bitter. When your cock is rock hard, yeah. No one's interested? Disappointment. Oh, I know. Hollywood, they'll save us. Nothing goes wrong there. When famous white actors do TV charity appeals featuring starving black children. Cringe. Disappointment. Or when your Rishi Sunak pretends to have emotions. It's a robot. When your house smells like death. A dead rat under the stairs. Meow. Oh, and your landlord says, just give it some air. Disappointment. Oh, you know, sex. That's always great, isn't it? When your sex partner finishes dinner, just yawns and falls asleep. Disappointment. Or when the UK had Brexit and then we actually left Europe. Oh. Okay. Well, thank you so much for listening to all of these things which are pissing me off. Now you can drop like a ton of bricks in a coffin. All your disappointments. Clock it. Life is disappointing. Yeah, clock it. Say it with me. Life is disappointing. So clock it. Because all we really need is each other. And that's enough. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, darlings, I hope you relate to some of these disappointments at home. So, yeah, when I was 22, I was chicken lickin' fresh. And I just moved to the UK with my Aussie girlfriend. This was before the moustache. I didn't know my elbow from my ass. And, you know, we thought we were going to have the kids, house and a job. I was left with sequins, wine and a knob. So the camera zooms over the United Kingdom. towards Kent, the Garden of England, and then slightly further southeast to Medway, the Garden of Chavs. Now, I like the people of Medway. You know, they ain't educated like they are in Parliament, but at least they don't watch porn at work. Know what I'm saying? So, you know, I lived there for 6 years, and I got a lot of love for the people there. You know, they are salty like chips and rough as a bag of unwashed sticks. So, they're famous around there for Charles Dickens. Yes, having once farted in a pub. And they've also got a cafe named the Deaf Cat after Dickens's cat. Imagine that. Silence. The pussy that couldn't hear its own fart. So, lastly, of course, that cafe is directly opposite the Rochester Cathedral. Magnificent building. Absolutely not any pedophiles. At least not for a couple of years. And my girlfriend and I, we had a nice apartment. She was killing her dreams by working for an accountancy firm, and I was committing suicide by working for a bank. Yeah, if you work for a bank, dear viewer, how do you not just kill yourself? So there we were in Medway Towns, which is a collection of towns, you know, in the same way that a Happy Meal is still technically a Happy Meal on the edge of a volcano. You know what confuses Australians, right? You're right. It's not actually a question. English people saying hello and saying you're right. It's like in Australia, it's much simpler. You know, you go to the shops and they say, hey, what's up, clockface? And I say, oh, well, thank you, Mum. So, yeah. Anyway, when I say I worked in a bank, it was a massive call center, you know, caffeine, sales targets, existential dread. And there was a colleague walking by me while I'm on the phone remonstrating. He says, "You right?" I'd break tradition and I say, "I'm fine," which is English male code for freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And he said, "Oh, right," which is English male code for I can see that you're heavily depressed, but, like, I don't have the emotional vocabulary to recognize your difficult situation. So I think what I'll do is just ignore it, much like the lump between my balls. Yes. So, England, Australia colony have in common the emotional submarine effect. It's going to keep it all down, isn't it? Captain, we're going towards the sea of misery. What did you say? What did I tell you about not recognizing emotions, damn it? I'm sorry, Captain, but the men, they're all depressed, and they've got lumps between their balls. Go, flappy First Lieutenant Submarine Dilliflap! If we start recognizing emotions, we'll have to recognize this narrative construct we're inside of. I'm sorry, Captain. You bloody well should be. I'll get you on your knees, what have you. Captain. Yes, what is it? Kiss me. Oh, yes, rather. Your beard in my mouth. Oh, Captain, touch me down there in my first lieutenant naughty spot. Oh, yes, rather. Oh, what's this lump? Just ignore it. Okay. Loose lips. Sink ships. And that is why Englishmen keep their feelings deep down. Where was I? Girlfriend Medway, dying inside. Yes. So, I came to the UK to be an artist, a professional artist. And, she was quite clear that she wanted kids. And we just kept delaying the thing. And then she posed the question and I was freaking out. I mean, what?
Spoken word poetry, movement, emotion. Welcome to the Spoken Word Poetry Show with your host, Dark Sugar.
Let's do a poetry show. Welcome to this little poetry segment where I empathise with you and also my 22-year-old chicken-licking self about some of the pressures that we face in the 21st century. This is called 21st Century Melody. Be productive. Be attractive. Don't show weakness. Speak less. Pull that thumb out your chute. Unless you like that, fill your boots. Work remotely, nice and toasty. Don't think, Netflix fix. Can't sleep, Bill? Pop that pill. Get thinner, weekend sinner. 21st century melody. Be a winner, microwave dinner. I'm still working, chest is hurting. 0 hour paycheck serving. 21st century melody. Not addiction, watching fiction. 1 second, I got a message. Oh, just an empty lesson. Must be influential thought leader, content feeder, content eater. Monetize your expertise. Authentic on the camera, please. Stay active. Get ahead. Wear that cheap plastic dress. You were born for leadership. Just clock in at 9 instead. 21st century melody. Be a winner. Microwave dinner. I'm still working. Chest is hurting. 0 hour paycheck serving. 21st century melody. Not addiction. Watching fiction. 1 second. I just got a message. Oh, just an empty lesson.
I'm Dr. Audrey Tang, a chartered psychologist, and on my show, Mental Health Matters, we take a deep dive into all things mental health and well-being with the experts. So join us at 8 a.m. PST on Thursdays on the Fresh Takes channel, because Mental Health Matters on E360 TV.
And we're back. So yeah, I was terrified at the idea of the perfect married life, with kids and, you know, shackles on the feet, and I was just breaking up inside because I wanted to be an artist. I could have been an adult about it and, you know, just broken up with her formally, but last time I checked, I am an artist, so I'd much prefer to get depressed, lose my job, and vote for the Green Party. Yes. Piercing in the wind with your vote. Ooh. Yes. So, dear viewer, maybe you relate to this kind of depressive behaviour. You know, you wake up in the morning, you just want to die, like watching Fox News. And, or you start to feel weak, like the royal bloodline. Or you just start to fade away, like Russell Brand's Reputation. Yes. So I'd lost my job, and, you know, without that apartment money, we moved into an literal Roman wine cellar. Like, one window, one door, location, death trap. And let's just cut to the nugget of this story. Yeah, she left my skinny ass and married another man. And I remember, you know, lying down in the pitch blackness, smoking a cigarette, listening to, like, just to ham it up, listening to Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, you know? And it was like, in this vacuum, all of that queerness which was, you know, oppressed in me in Australia, it just came out in a vacuum, like getting stabbed in space. And it's really weird that I became a queen there, you know, like, not a lot of queerness on the streets of Medway, you know what I'm saying? It would be like if Jeff Bezos just turned into a human. Yeah. So I kind of overcame this, you know, period of, like, mental health challenge, and it was just the first of many which I've overcome, but I've narrated all of them like a BBC commentator, biased and conservative. Yes. And, you know, when it comes to talking about mental health, you know what's funny? Suicide. Whoops, not really. But, you know, will I, won't I? It's one of those things which is fairly common to think about, fairly rare to act upon. And I want to destigmatize these kind of intrusive thoughts. I firmly believe that we should have safe spaces to talk about our mental well-being and be able to recover, you know, with our family, with our community, without judgment. People use this word stigmatization. I think what that really means is just don't judge me for having feelings, you country boy. So, you know, choosing will I, won't I is like choosing between almond milk and soy milk. One's going to leave you a bit nutty, the other's going to kill you faster than a vegan with an iron deficiency. I always said it won't happen to me. That awful end. I'm just too strong, you see, when it all feels pointless. Can't get out of bed. The most loving voices fill your lungs with dread. Or do they? Let's find out. Use a knife, take a pill, make a wish, write a note. Any old method you please. There's always a road to freedom. It's right onto your sleeves. Whoops. Or take a break, have a chat, take a walk, pat a cat. Any old method you choose. There's really no need to end it when you've got the blues. I always said it's not an option. Choose to be dead. Now I've forgotten. Let's go to the blues, shall we? Find comfort in alcohol or in our computer screen. It's a masturbation joke. Whatever poison you choose, there's really nothing to lose. Or is there? Let's find out. Use a knife, take a pill, make a wish, write a note. Any old method you please. There's always a road to freedom. It's right under your sleeves. Cut, cut. Whoops. You take a break, have a chat, take a walk, pat a cat. Any old method you choose. There's really no need to end it when you've got the blues. And it all feels good. You must embrace it. 'Cause this life will only be just what you make it. Find comfort in life itself. And giving to someone else. You just gotta do the thing you love. Perhaps some kid jokes. Take it easy. Or you could just put the kids in the car and drive off a cliff. Woo! Use a rope in a chair and just take a jump. Be fine. You know, overdose with a bag, have a wank. Woo! Head in the oven and turn on the gas. There's a chicken in here. Oh, any old method you please. There's always a road to freedom. It's right onto your sleeves, Cindy Jim. Oh, yes. Oh, I always said it won't happen to me. That awful end, because I'm just too strong. You see, that awful end. You know what? I just kinda need a hug. Don't wanna end up dead. You know, darlings, when you're in the throe of misery, you really do question, is there any point in carrying on, like I did? But I can tell you, by practicing the art form of drag and having a community, reporting from the front line. Yes, life is worth living. It is sweet. Share it with people, your feelings and the bad times. The purpose of my life is to make everything just a little bit queer everywhere I go and share the love.
Oh, Dark Sugar, you have blown me away. I love your work anyway. It's wonderful to see you in person performing. You are fabulous, you're funny, but you're so compassionate and I don't want to use the word sensible, but there's a real honesty with reality. You're very real about things. Is that something that you always put into your work?
It's something which has come across recently. I was in a workshop with Scott Capurro, the fantastic comedian, and so I presented some of my old material to him, and he stopped me dead in the middle of my set with like a surgeon's knife expertise of critical feedback, and I was like, all right, it's big girl time, suck it up, Dark Sugar, you're getting ready for the feedback. And he said, I want to see you, not this character. And that blew me away, because I always had really seriously avoided autobiographical material. I guess partly because I was experiencing that kind of working class shame. Like, you don't talk about where you come from, you don't talk about who you are. And I realized if I go back to the beginning of who Dark Sugar is, in terms of like, you know, like overcoming mental health challenges, forming a community, learning to be a professional artist, it's all about, you know, authentically connecting to my history, to making decisions, to transforming your life. And his feedback really sparked something in me. So I feel like I've made a decision in this last year to bring the authenticity, my life story, and just kind of be a bit more vulnerable on stage, not pretend to be some kind of like lackadaisical Hollywood rich kid, because I'm not that. You know, I'm a working class kid who is hiding the snake in a games of snake and ladders.
Oh, your metaphors, I love them all the way through that. And that brings me on to your book of poetry, Death and Attraction. Now, this is a compilation of raw, candid observations. And I think raw, visceral sexuality, that really comes out in that as well. And you talked just recently about authenticity. So I'm going to ask you who you're inspired by, but then there is part of that is so much comes from you as well, doesn't it? But who are you inspired by?
Well, I think like a lot of skinny young white kids, they go to Jack Kerouac, and you know, I was kind of like eclectically getting his CDs when CDs meant anything. I was in uni, and I just listened to them on repeat. Even when I was traveling to the UK after I graduated with my Bachelor of Arts, that's been so handy. And I kind of moved on from Kerouac to Ginsberg and Williamsburg, and Williamsburg isn't actually a poet, that's hilarious. So I then, when I was living in Medway, I met one of the founders of the Stuckist movement, who's called Bill Lewis. You might have heard of his, one of the other Stuckists called Billy Childish. Yeah, he was like painting, portraiture, Stuckists, and ironically, they're all on Facebook, which I find delightful in terms of 21st century melody. It's, going back to the topic of listening to Bill Lewis as a young poet in Medway, and the way that he talks about his travels through like South America, and he's not afraid to adopt like the culture and the songs and the rhythm. And he's not doing that kind of like cultural telescope thing where you just cut a circle around another culture and say, great, I'll use that. No, he's using it with love and compassion. And that's, you know, I started off by writing about my father's death. That poem I shared on the show today was one of the first more serious poems that I wrote when I was in university. But I will share a funny anecdote. Thomas was a writer when he was a teen. He was just a massive Eminem tribute. So, so I had some rap in there. It was real cringe. But that's, you know, that spoken word vibe for me, with vulnerability on the stage in Perth, West Australia. We have this thing that's called the slam, which is So, okay, when English people go abroad and they conquer large amounts of land, like America and Australia, they get a bit competitive and they love things like slams. They just wanna. Okay, so what you got to do, right, is just put it into 2 minutes, and it's a competition, and we love it. We absolutely love it. So I started off doing poetry slams in Australia as a skinny young white boy, doing my thing. And that's where I kind of like cut my teeth as a performer when I was at university, talking about, you know, like death and emotions and love, all the raw stuff that you drink a bottle of whiskey to. Not much of a drinker myself, though, thankfully.
Comes out in the art instead.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very healthy way of channeling it, actually. I mean, you talking about vulnerability, why is it so important? And I know you've had that realization yourself as you were talking about your work and how it's evolved. Why is it so important to, when you're on stage, to allow that vulnerability to come out rather than be, oh, I'm this stage character now and I'm just going to be that? How does that help you either connect with the audience, and why is it better for your performance?
Well, I've realized in the last kind of 5 years that when you're vulnerable on stage, it cuts you a lot of slack with the audience. And it's kind of like reverse logic of what you think. I think before you become a public speaker, you think, you know, I've got to be super prepared and very armor on the face. And if anybody says anything, I'll know exactly what to say to that situation. But the opposite is true, is that, you know, human communication is much more fluid and soft. And, you know, I feel very comfortable when I stand on stage and I see people's eyes looking, because eye contact is very human. And of course, I'm an attention slut, so that feels great as well. But in terms of like choosing to be vulnerable, it comes from like lessons about mental health. And for me, the biggest challenges in my mental health and the most down periods of my life are also the least vulnerable. And, you know, when I hide it inside and I don't share how I feel, and I think it's likewise, it reflects on stage. People can see it, but no one's going to just walk up to you and say, oh, you know, are you feeling okay? Maybe a good friend will, but most people don't give a cluck, and the audience don't as well, you know. Yeah. So I feel like there's a synergy between your private life and the stage. There's not a difference for me, which is why I feel quite comfortable stripping on stage and talking about my autobiographical, because it is just one person, one life. And I want to be vulnerable while I'm on this earth so I can actually engage with people in a meaningful way.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. And that really underpins a lot of the work that you do as a poet, as an artist, as a host, and so on. And relating to that, you talk a lot in your own autobiography about growing up queer and in a, I guess, a non-welcoming environment to some extent. Now, Billy Porter, who will be very proud of this coat, by the way, said being authentic is great if your brand of authenticity is in. Now, we are getting better when it comes to the LGBTQ community. But what do we still need to be doing? How can we be better allies? How can we be more inclusive? What needs to improve?
Well, I've got to start off by saying I'm not a spokesperson for the LGBT community. I'm part of it. And a lot has been done. There's hardly any moiders anymore. It's a shocking state of affairs when people are assaulted on the streets, and it happens commonly. People don't talk about it. Like in Medway, there's some transvestite kind of like help groups where people come together and talk about their transition. A lot of them don't feel comfortable dressing the way that they identify in the street. And I don't think this is a phenomena, you know, just so unique to like Medway. Of course, it's, you know, it's a very mixed area. Kent has got so many different types of eco-socioeconomic areas, and in Medway in particular, it's really like stratified. Like Rochester to Chatham, right next door, so different economically. And I used to walk from my Roman wine cellar basement apartment to like the hotel lobby to do my cabaret show. And, okay, so here's an anecdote. It wouldn't be Rochester if there weren't a bunch of nutters wearing feathery hats, smacking sticks in the high street in the festival.
Oh, yes.
So I exit with my massive suitcase, 5 costume change, because why not? Dragging it through the crowds. And I'm like, what is this society? I just want to wear a dress. Is there more work to be done? I feel like the UK actually is an excellent global example of acceptance of the LGBT community. Like, so one of the reasons why I felt comfortable living in the UK was in comparison to my butt fuck nowhere bringing like a childhood in Australia. So to give you a bit of context, I grew up in kind of like a farming, suburban, industrial area, and it's weird, like the color pink is considered to be, like something so specific and feminine. You get punched in the face for wearing the wrong color, let alone like this ain't happening, in South Perth, not without like a violent challenge. And all the same people are still alive. So I feel like global media changes, and the narrative about what is acceptable. You can change the definition in a dictionary, but can you overwrite the memories in someone's mind about what they feel isn't acceptable? That is a process that takes a massive cultural phenomena and a lot of patience as well. There are people who are transitioning now in their communities, and it might be in a kind of a county area like Medway, it might be, on the outskirts of Leeds, and they feel like no one represents them. They feel like there's not many safe havens to go to. It's usually their kind of, English and mixed race, queer communities doing dance forms and hiring venues to have a private club night. Thank God it's not Stonewall territory anymore. So I do think that the UK is actually an excellent example, and let's just ignore the ding-dongs in Parliament who are scared of change.
That's beautiful to hear, and you give some really good examples of what is happening, and it is heartening. But I feel so sad when I hear you talk about what you've had to go through as well, and that's horrendous that is also still happening. But you're absolutely right. Change does take time, and it's good to at least see that there are some steps being made.
Yeah, I'm still grateful, though. I do want to say that, like, I still had quite a privileged upbringing in comparison to people coming out of Turkey, or Afghanistan who are queer. Like, I didn't have it as hard as those people who had to leave their country to come here to practice their dance forms. And I am sincerely grateful to, what's his name? Dame Edna. Forging forward with the territory, all of those early drag queens on television, giving us a way forward, even if it was like pantomime. We've got to start somewhere.
Well, talking of starting somewhere, what might you say to somebody starting out or even coming out when it comes to being on stage? Because some comedians, I know, they don't want to talk about something like a mental health diagnosis or something like that. They may not want to talk about being gay. They may not want to talk about whatever it might be because they are afraid of being judged in some way. Is that something that you just need to find your own path for?
I think, well, step one is look after your own safety.
Yes.
Don't put yourself in a situation where you feel like outing, like your diagnosis or your sense of identity is going to put you in harm's way. I think step 2.
12-step program.
12-step programs are coming out as a queer artist. That sounds like a book title, doesn't it?
It really does. You need to be writing that, and then we'll have you on again. But
I think, for young gay artists who want to express their art form, like, don't make your identity the center of the art piece. Because you, darling, you are gorgeous, you make your own decisions, and you just are, It's not the artwork, you just are. You don't need to prove anything. I think that would be step 2. Step 3 is find a queer community that can support you. I think that was a mistake which I made as a young artist. So, I practiced drag with a beautiful group of people under the banner of the Cabaret Club in Kent. Now, there's not a lot of queerness on the streets of Medway, you know what I'm saying? So I would have benefited by being like, okay, I love this Kentish, seen, I was the only queen there. So it's kind of weird. I should have just traveled to London, found another community and been enriched by that culture, which is what I've been doing in more recent years. So yeah, step 3, find a community.
Beautiful. And with that, and the fact that you perform so often, you have to deal day to day still with certain behaviours, but also there's a lot of other pressures of just life in general. How do you look after your own mental health and well-being?
What a nice question on the mental health show. Well, I have discovered something fantastic recently, which really transformed the way that I think about myself. And it's a model called self-concept, developed by Steve Andreas. Some of the viewers have probably heard of neuro-linguistic programming. So Steve Andreas sort of evolved that research into a much more accessible format where self-concept, you have the most basic definition of who you think you are. And then you identify your values and kind of integrate the things which you believe are bad about you into the things that you think are good about you, so that the things which are bad just become information, and so that you can learn from them, so you're not haunted, like when you, for example, if you've got a fear of stepping onto stage and talking sort of thing, you might get like stage fright and then a sudden flash of like, cringe moment. You can actually, change the way that you think and the way that your brain works so that you get useful things before you go on stage, like, I look nice in this outfit. You step on stage and do your thing. So self-concept has been fantastic. I also think that, just being deeply vulnerable and being willing to explore your friends' strange ideas is also a great way to relieve pressure. So with Alex Ratman, we did the Beard and the Queen project for a year and a half, which is a queer cabaret in Dalston of East London. And that's one of the communities which I really enjoy, East London. So we were exploring failure as a topic to bounce off as artists because, it's that chicken winner, dinner culture, 21st century melody. We all feel like we've got to be an influential thought leader, and the pressure is just mind-numbing. Like, as a solopreneur, some of you viewers can probably relate, there is so much pressure, so many hats that they just fall off, and, if you're anything like me, a human being, you probably burn and crash every now and then. So I feel like, finding a creative space where there's no judgments, it can still be in business, like it was for me and Alex in Cabaret, where it's safe to fail and you can be vulnerable so that you can just navigate creativity and business and friendship. And for me, that was a path towards feeling much more confident as a business person. Come up with a concept, you like it, great. Let's do that thing.
It's a message about picking the right people to hang around with once again, isn't it, though, as well? Because I think friendships they're wonderful, but some friendships are not always healthy for us either. And I think that's an important thing to just to end on there. But you're going to stay with us just a little while longer, Dark Sugar, because there's a little challenge that we like to put our performers through. So, Dark Sugar, this is the Great Dream Challenge, and what this is from Action for Happiness. It's their 10 keys to happier living, and there are 10 different things that we do to make ourselves feel better. No one has got further than the final E, the second E. I'll give you the first thing, and you tell me what you've done for giving. Who have you given to? Second, relating. How have you connected with others? And so on, and you can get the hints there.
Okay, so I just shoot off an example as you go through, and it's in a minute.
Exactly.
I gotcha.
And the reason why it has to be in a minute and it has to be an example is because the quicker we can think of those examples, it means the more you're doing them. Testing you as well. All right, here we go.
Let's go.
Giving.
Massages to your partner.
Relating.
By empathizing and listening.
Exercising.
By clenching your bum cheeks on the chair.
Awareness.
By not paying attention to intrusive thoughts and just believing they are a thought.
Oh, trying new things.
Going for vegetables instead of alcohol in the supermarket.
Love it. Direction, having a goal to look forward to.
Yes. Short, medium and long-term goals.
Oh, lovely. Resilience, finding a way to bounce back.
A journal, I feel like, is a great way to have some resilience.
Fantastic. Emotions, looking for what's good in people or not shunning bad emotions. What have you done?
Acceptance. I've got a massive stratosphere for people's weirdness and their freaking outness. It's totally okay.
Amazing. And with acceptance, it relates to what you've said with emotion. How do you accept other people?
When they want to move on.
And we're just out of time. You have beaten our top score. Oh! You have got up to Great Dree. So we have got, I will pop you on the leaderboard there, Dark Sugar.
Look at that.
I know, look at that. And you got to Great...
Who knew that a drag queen could just come up with nonsense on command?
Well, there you go. I mean, you have beaten... I mean, I'm right at the bottom of this already. You've beaten an arts charity trustee, you've beaten the actress who we had on in the last episode, and you've beaten me. So you are right at the top of the leaderboard, Dark Sugar. Absolutely fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now... you are going to play us out with one of your poems, and that is from the book Death and Attraction. So I'm going to hand it back over to Dark Sugar.
Thank you, Audrey. So I'm going to read you a lovely little ditty from my book Death and Attraction, which you can find only on thomaswkelly.com. This one is called Thinking of Death. Every now and then, it's healthy to think about death. Every now and then, I think about my father's death. When death comes, should I be cremated? Love is like death, because when it is upon you, it obsesses you. You are living on each breath. 3, 2, 1. Surprise. It's the silence after you come. The way a wave looks after it's crashed. The smell of disinfectant, of feeling lashed by silk. That moment of nothingness when two people become one, when one becomes nothing, fulfilling your biology. I wonder if death is enjoyable, if that state can be prolonged in the same way that a smoker wants to extend their head rush. My favorite smells, the best music. Someone is brushing my hair, but my feet are far away. I am dancing. Our skin's brushing like snake scales. That's where I want to be. Look at me. I'm coming into my prime like a shining diamond, and I'm slowly dying.